In the deep silence of space, where stars glimmer like distant watchful eyes, there lived a mother of great power and pride. She was not human. She was something far older and far more dangerous, an aristocrat of an alien empire that ruled across many worlds. Her name was spoken with respect and with fear, for she carried the weight of tradition on her shoulders, and her bloodline was said to be pure and unbroken for thousands of years. For her, honor and legacy were everything. Without them, she believed there was no reason to exist. This mother had one daughter, her only heir. From the moment the girl was born, the mother had placed all hopes, all dreams, and all weight of her house upon the fragile shoulders of that child. The daughter was expected to grow, to marry well, and to continue the noble line so that the family name would never fade. But fate had not been kind. When the daughter reached her age of maturity, the truth came out: she was barren. Doctors and healers, alien minds of science and energy, all confirmed the same verdict. The daughter could never give birth. For the aristocrat mother, this was more than misfortune, it was shame. Her noble rivals whispered, her house grew weaker, and though the mother never said it aloud, she looked at her daughter with silent disappointment that burned deeper than any words could. Yet the daughter lived on, quiet and obedient. She walked through the grand halls of their estate, where golden banners floated in the air and servants bowed at her passing. But she always felt like a shadow. No matter how many times she tried to please her mother, no matter how carefully she followed the customs, she could not escape the truth that haunted every step. She was barren. To her mother, she was the end of the line, the last breath of a house that would one day be forgotten. And so, between mother and daughter grew a wall, made not of stone but of silence, sharp and cold. But in the stillness of those halls, whispers began to rise. The servants spoke in hushed voices, afraid to be heard. They noticed changes in the daughter. Her face seemed brighter, her eyes carried a secret fire, and her steps grew lighter, as if she carried not sorrow but hope. At night, when the moons of their world glowed across the sky, she was seen walking alone in the gardens, smiling softly to herself as if she listened to a voice that no one else could hear. Some said she was losing her mind. Others dared to think she had found something forbidden, but none of them were brave enough to speak the truth aloud. The mother watched too, her sharp eyes missing nothing. She saw the strange glow in her daughter's face, the trembling hands she tried to hide, the way she would pause as if protecting something deep inside. Suspicion grew in the mother's heart. Her pride told her it was nothing. Just weakness, just another failure, but another part of her, the part that feared disgrace more than death, whispered a darker thought. Something was wrong, terribly wrong. And she would soon demand answers. The daughter, meanwhile, lived with a storm inside her chest. She knew the truth could not stay hidden forever. Her secret was too great, too dangerous, too impossible, and yet every morning when she awoke, she placed a hand against her stomach and felt the warmth of life within her. A life that should not exist, a life that no alien science could explain. It was a miracle, but it was also a curse, because when the truth came out, her mother would not see it as a gift. She would see it as the greatest betrayal. And so the stage was set, the proud mother, chained by her obsession with bloodlines and legacy, the barren daughter, carrying a secret that defied the very laws of her people and the whispers that filled the halls of their estate, waiting for the storm that was about to come. Among the stars, where families rose and fell like empires, a single revelation would soon shatter everything. For the daughter was not as barren as the world believed, and the life inside her was not alien, it was human. The estate of the alien aristocrats was unlike any human palace. Its walls were alive, glowing with soft colors that shifted like breath. The ceiling stretched so high they seemed to touch the sky, where floating orbs of light drifted like silent guardians. Servants of many alien kinds moved quietly across polished floors, their steps hushed, their eyes lowered. For here, silence was safety and gossip was as sharp as any blade. The daughter walked these halls every day, but she did not feel at home. She felt like a guest, a fragile piece of furniture in her mother's grand design. Every corner reminded her of her failures. Every whisper reminded her that she was not enough. But recently her presence had begun to stir curiosity. She carried herself differently now, her shoulders straighter, her movements slower, deliberate. It was as if she held something precious within her, something that made her glow. The servants noticed, and they whispered in corners. "Have you seen her eyes?" one murmured. "They shine like she carries a secret," another replied. But when the mother entered the halls, all voices fell silent, for the mother's presence was heavy, like the weight of a star pressing down. Her gaze was sharp enough to strip flesh from bone, and none dared to meet her eyes. The mother herself had noticed the change in her daughter. She watched her closely during meals. When the family banner shimmered above the long table, she saw how her daughter touched her cup with trembling fingers, how her breaths were slower, deeper, and at night when the halls were quiet, the mother would walk alone, her long robe trailing across the floors, listening to the faint echoes of her daughter's steps in the distance. Something was happening, she was sure of it, and she would uncover the truth no matter what it was. But the daughter had learned to hide well. She smiled when her mother demanded obedience. She bowed when her mother reminded her of duty. Yet behind that mask, her heart raced with fear and hope. For inside her grew a secret that no one could believe, a secret that would bring either salvation or destruction. Her hands often brushed against her stomach as she walked, and each time she felt warmth, a living spark that reminded her she was no longer alone. It gave her courage even as it filled her with terror. In the gardens of the estate, where strange alien flowers glowed under the twin moons, she would walk at night. The flowers swayed as if they listened, as if they too could sense the new life inside her. Sometimes she whispered softly, words no servant could hear, words not even meant for herself, but for the life she carried. Do not fear, she would say. I will protect you. Her voice trembled, but there was strength in it, strength she had never known before. The estate itself seemed to shift with tension. Walls that once felt timeless now carried echoes of unease. Every shadow seemed deeper, every silence longer. The servants moved quickly, eager to avoid the storm they felt brewing. Even the banners of the house, glowing with the family crest, seemed to flicker as though the legacy they represented was under threat. The mother, however, was not blind to such changes. She had lived too long, fought too many rivals, crushed too many whispers to ignore the signs. And though she told herself her daughter was weak, though she told herself nothing could surprise her anymore, her instincts warned her of something greater, something dangerous. The kind of danger that could not be silenced with money, threats, or power. One evening, as the twin moons hung low and silver light poured through the windows, the mother summoned her daughter. The summons was not spoken but commanded, carried by the servants who bowed in fear as they delivered the message. The daughter felt her breath catch. She knew this moment would come. Her mother's eyes would search her, would demand answers, and she was not sure if she could hide her secret any longer. The halls stretched endlessly as she walked to her mother's chamber. Each step echoed louder than the last, like the beating of a drum before battle. Her hands shook, though she tried to still them. Her chest tightened as though the walls themselves pressed in. Behind the great door, her mother waited, a figure of power and cold beauty, her robe flowing like liquid shadow, her eyes bright as burning stars. The daughter paused, her hand hovering before the door. In her chest, the spark of life moved, and for the first time she felt not only fear but also defiance. She whispered again to the hidden life within her. Stay strong, she said, for both of us. Then she pushed the door open and stepped inside. The chamber of the mother was vast and silent. Tall windows opened to the twin moons, spilling silver light across the floor. The air was heavy, almost too heavy to breathe. The daughter entered, her steps slow, her head lowered, her hands hidden within the folds of her robe. She felt the weight of her mother's gaze before she dared to lift her eyes. The mother stood at the far end of the room, framed by banners of the family crest, their glow pulsing faintly like a heartbeat. Her presence filled the chamber. Sharp and cold, she did not speak at once. She only stared, watching her daughter cross the space between them. The silence stretched until every breath the daughter took felt like a confession. Finally, the mother spoke, her voice calm but edged with iron. You walk differently, my child, she said. You look at the ground as if it hides your shame, yet your eyes shine with something you dare not speak. The daughter froze, her throat dry. Tell me, what is it that you hide? The mother demanded, her tone louder now, echoing against the chamber walls. Do not lie to me, for lies are poison, and I will tear the truth from you if I must. The daughter trembled, yet she straightened her shoulders. Her heart beat so fast she thought her mother could hear it. For a long moment she said nothing. Her lips pressed tight, but then her hands moved. Resting gently on her stomach, the mother's eyes narrowed, sharp and burning, and in that instant, the daughter knew she could no longer hide. Her voice came soft at first, barely more than a whisper. Mother, she said, I am with child. The words seemed to shatter the air. The mother stiffened, her eyes widening, her breath sharp. For a moment she said nothing, as if her mind could not accept what she had heard. Then her voice lashed out, colder than ice. "Impossible," she hissed. "You are barren, the doctors have spoken. The healers have spoken, your body is empty." Her hands clenched, her claws scraping against the arm of her chair. "You dare mock me with such lies?" The daughter shook her head, her eyes filling with tears. Yet her voice grew stronger. "It is no lie, Mother. I feel the life inside me, I feel its warmth. Its heartbeat." The mother's anger burned brighter, her pride twisting into fury. If such a thing were true, it could only mean one thing, and that is a disgrace I will not allow. Her words sliced through the chamber. She took a step forward, her robes trailing like black fire. Her face was carved with rage, her jaw tight, her eyes blazing. But the daughter stood her ground, her voice trembled. But she spoke again, louder this time. "It is not an alien child, Mother," she said. The silence that followed was sharper than any blade. The mother froze, her breath caught, her eyes narrowing into thin, deadly slits. Her voice dropped low, dangerous. "Then what?" she asked, each word dripping with venom. "What dares grow within you?" The daughter's chest heaved. Her fingers pressed tighter against her stomach. Her lips parted, and she said the words that would change everything. "It is human." The chamber seemed to grow colder, the air heavier, the banners flickered, as though the very house recoiled at her words. The mother's face twisted, first in disbelief, then in horror, then in rage so sharp it seemed to split the silence in two. "Human," she spat. The word burned like acid on her tongue. Her hands shook, her eyes wide with fury. "You dare defile our bloodline with that filth? You dare betray your people, your house, your own mother?" Her voice rose, crashing like thunder across the walls. "You are no daughter of mine if this is true." The daughter's tears spilled. But she did not step back. Her voice cracked. But she forced the words out. "I love him, Mother. And this child is proof of that love." The mother's fury deepened. Her hands raised as if she could strike the words from the air. "Love," she growled. "Do not speak that word to me. There is no love in weakness, there is only disgrace. Only ruin." The daughter lifted her chin, her trembling fading into steel. Her eyes locked with her mother's, bright with defiance. "Then call it what you will, but I will not deny my child, I will not deny the life I carry." Her words rang out, echoing like a vow. And in that moment, the chamber felt like the edge of a storm, ready to break. The mother's voice dropped again, low and deadly. "If the court learns of this, you will be destroyed, and the human who dared touch you will suffer a fate worse than death." Her eyes glowed with fury, her body trembling with the force of her rage. "You have brought shame upon us all, and I will see this mistake erased." But the daughter, though her body shook, did not yield. Her hands pressed against her stomach as if shielding the child within. Her eyes burned with a courage she never knew she had. And in the silence that followed, she whispered not to her mother, but to the life inside her, "I will protect you." The mother's glare darkened, her breath sharp, her fury rising like fire. And in that moment, both mother and daughter knew the bloodline was broken, the legacy shattered, and nothing in the stars would ever be the same again. The chamber trembled with silence after the daughter's revelation. The word human hung in the air like poison. Refusing to fade, the mother's breath came heavy. Sharp, her body stiff with rage, her eyes glowed, her jaw clenched, her hands curling into claws as if she could tear the truth from existence. "You dare bring this insult into my house," she thundered, her voice echoing against the high walls. "You dare bring the blood of a human into the veins of our family." The banners flickered above her, the lights dimming as though the very estate responded to her fury. Servants hiding beyond the doors froze, their hearts pounding as they listened, afraid to move, afraid even to breathe. The daughter trembled, but she did not retreat. Her hands rested on her stomach as if shielding the child. Her shoulders straight, her chin lifted. "This child is no insult," she said, her voice breaking but strong. "This child is life, a miracle, a gift that I will not deny." The mother's voice cut like a blade. "A gift," she spat. "It is a curse, a stain, an abomination. Do you know what the court will say? Do you know what your ancestors would say?" Her words burned, each one like fire against her daughter's heart. "You were barren, and now you return to me with this." "With this," she growled, pointing at her daughter's stomach as though it were a wound. The daughter's tears shone in the moonlight. But she stood firm. "You call it a curse. But I call it hope, she said, her voice trembling. For years, you told me I was empty, broken, unworthy. But I am not. I carry life, and I will protect it. The mother's fury deepened, her steps sharp as she advanced. Her robe trailed behind her like a storm cloud, her eyes burning with fire. You will end this, do you hear me? You will end this at once before the court learns. Before our enemies learn, before our house is ruined. Her words struck like thunder, filling the chamber with their weight, but the daughter shook her head. No, she said, her voice rising. I will not destroy my child. No matter the cost, no matter your anger, this child will live. Her defiance hung heavy and the air seemed to grow colder. The mother stopped only a breath away from her daughter, her shadow falling across her like a blade. Her voice dropped low and dangerous. Do you understand what you are saying? Do you understand that by defying me, you set yourself against your own blood, your own house, your own mother? Her eyes burned like twin suns, filled with fury and disbelief. I raised you, I sheltered you, and now you repay me with betrayal. The daughter's lips trembled. But her gaze did not falter. You raised me in silence and shame. You made me believe I was nothing, but this child has given me strength. Strength to stand, strength to speak, strength to live. Her voice cracked, but the fire in her words burned brighter than the mother's rage. I will not betray my child for you. I will not betray the love that gave it life. At the mention of love, the mother recoiled as if struck. Love, she sneered, her voice dripping with venom. Do not speak that word, not when it binds you to filth, not when it ties you to a creature that crawls at the bottom of the stars. A human, a weak, fleeting thing that will never understand our kind. Her rage rose again, her hands trembling with fury. If I find him, I will tear him apart, limb from limb, and scatter his ashes across the void. The daughter gasped, her heart clenching with fear. Her hands tightened over her stomach, her voice breaking with desperate strength. You will not touch him. You will not touch us, her words rang like a shield, fragile yet unbroken. She stepped back, her eyes wet with tears, yet burning with fire. You may be my mother, but you will not rule my soul, not anymore. The chamber fell into silence, the mother's breath heavy, the daughter's trembling. Between them a storm raged, one of blood and pride, of love and defiance, and though no blade was drawn, it felt as though the air itself was cut by their clash. The mother's voice finally broke the silence, cold and sharp as a knife. If you stand against me, then you stand against everything you are, everything you were meant to be. Her eyes narrowed, her fury like a burning star. You are no daughter of mine, and if you defy me further, I will see that your child never draws breath. The daughter's heart pounded. Her breath quick and shallow, yet she straightened, her voice trembling but fierce. Then I will protect it, even if I must defy the stars themselves. The words hung between them. Sharp as any blade, the mother's rage burned. The daughter's resolve glowed, and in that moment, both knew there was no turning back. The path before them was carved with fire, with blood, with destiny. And the conflict that began in that chamber would soon shake not only their house, but the stars themselves. The chamber had become a battlefield without weapons. Two figures stood locked in silence, mother and daughter, bound by blood yet torn apart by fire. The mother's breath came heavy, sharp, her chest rising and falling like waves crashing against stone. The daughter stood firm, her hands pressed protectively over her stomach, her eyes glimmering with tears and defiance. The mother spoke first, her voice low and deadly. If you defy me, if you cling to this disgrace, then you are no daughter of mine. Her words cut deep, colder than any blade. You will be cast out, you will be erased from the family, your name torn from the banners, your memory burned from the records, and when the court whispers of you, they will call you nothing. The daughter flinched, the pain of her mother's words slicing through her heart. But she did not lower her gaze, she did not surrender. I would rather be nothing than be a prisoner of your pride, she whispered, her voice trembling but strong. I would rather be forgotten by the stars than destroy the life within me. The mother's rage deepened, her eyes glowing like molten fire. She stepped closer, her shadow falling heavy over her daughter. And what of the human? She hissed. Do you think he will protect you? Do you think his fragile flesh, his fleeting life, will stand against the power of this house, against me? Her lips curled into a cold, cruel smile. He will beg for mercy before the end, and I will grant him none. The daughter's breath caught, fear surging through her chest, but then her hands pressed harder against her stomach, and courage rose again. "You will not touch him," she said, her voice cracking but clear. "You will not touch us." The mother's laugh was bitter, sharp as broken glass. "You dare command me," she growled. "You, who have brought ruin upon my house, you, who have spat upon the honor of your ancestors. You dare stand before me as if you hold power." Her steps thundered across the floor as she advanced. "I am your mother. I am the blood that gave you life, and I can just as easily take it away." The daughter's tears fell freely now, but she did not move. Her voice rose, trembling but fierce. "You gave me life, yes, but this child gives me strength, and I will fight for it, even if I must fight you." The chamber shook with silence, the words hanging heavy in the air. For the first time, the mother froze, her eyes narrowing, her fury warring with shock. The daughter's voice had never held such steel before, and in that moment the mother saw not weakness, but something else, something dangerous. The mother's voice dropped, colder than the void between stars. "If you choose this path, then you choose exile. You choose war against me, against the court, against the galaxy itself." Her eyes narrowed, her breath sharp. "And I promise you this, child. If you bring that creature into this world, if you defy me again, I will make sure no one ever sees it alive." The daughter's chest heaved, her hands trembling, her heart pounding, but she lifted her chin, her eyes burning with fire. "Then I will defy the stars themselves," she said, her voice clear, unbroken. "I will protect this child, with or without you. Against you if I must." The mother's fury flared, her eyes glowing, her body trembling with rage. Her voice rose like thunder, filling the chamber with its deadly promise. "Then so be it," she declared. "You have chosen your fate, and it will destroy you." The banners above flickered, the light in the chamber dimmed. The servants outside gasped. Sensing the storm within, the daughter stood frozen, her body trembling but her spirit blazing. The mother turned away, her robe sweeping the floor like a wave of shadow. Her voice echoed one final time, colder than death itself. "Your love will not save you, and your child will not survive." The daughter's breath caught, her tears falling fast, but her hands pressed to her stomach, and she whispered softly, a vow meant only for the life within her. "We will survive, no matter the cost." The chamber doors slammed shut, the sound like thunder across the halls. The estate fell silent, holding its breath. The mother's fury burned like fire in the dark, the daughter's courage like a fragile flame against it. And in that fragile flame burned the promise of rebellion, the spark of something greater, something that would not end within those walls, but would spread across the stars, for the secret was out now, and the storm had only just begun. The doors of the chamber closed with a thunderous echo. The daughter stood frozen in the silence, her hands still pressed to her stomach, her heart pounding so hard it drowned every other sound. Her mother's words lingered like poison in the air, heavy and sharp. "Your child will not survive." The threat burned into her mind, but so did her own vow, her whispered promise to protect. When at last her legs carried her, she stumbled into the halls of the estate. The walls seemed to lean closer, the glowing lights flickering as if they too knew of the storm inside her heart. Servants bowed as she passed, but their eyes lingered too long, filled with questions they dared not ask. Whispers followed her, whispers that stung. They could sense something had changed, though none knew the truth, not yet. The daughter retreated into her private chamber, a room far smaller than the grand halls, yet safer, quieter. She sank into a chair, pressing her face into her trembling hands. Her tears fell hot and fast, not only from fear, but from the weight of everything she had unleashed. She had spoken the truth, and now the galaxy itself seemed ready to turn against her. But as her sobs faded, her hands moved back to her stomach, and the warmth there reminded her she was not alone. She whispered again, her voice raw, "We will survive, little one. I swear it." The spark of life within her seemed to answer, a steady pulse of comfort that gave her strength. And in that moment she knew she could not run, she could not hide, not forever. The time would come when she would need to face not only her mother, but the court, the empire, and the stars far away. In the shadows beyond the estate, another figure stirred. A man, human, his face scarred from battles, his eyes sharp with fire. He stood hidden among the darker districts of the alien city, waiting, always waiting. He had risked everything for the daughter, for their forbidden love, and though he was far from her now, Though walls of alien stone and armies of alien power stood between them, his heart beat for her and for the child she carried. He remembered the nights they had shared, stolen moments beneath alien skies, her voice soft, her laughter rare but beautiful. He remembered the promise they made when she first whispered her secret to him, that no matter what came, no matter what fury or danger, they would protect their child together. But now he knew the danger was rising faster than he had feared. Rumors spread even here, whispers of tension in the aristocrats' halls, whispers of a storm breaking, and he felt the pull in his chest, the call to return to her. No matter the cost, back in the estate, the mother stood alone in her chamber, her rage boiling like fire behind her calm mask, her hands clenched, her jaw tight, her eyes burning with fury. To her, this was no longer only about her daughter. It was about legacy, honor, survival. If the court discovered the truth, if her rivals learned that her barren daughter carried a human child, it would be the end. Her house would fall. Her name would be mocked. Her power would be stripped away. She could not allow it. She would not allow it. And so she began to plan. She summoned her most loyal servants, those who would obey without question. Her orders were clear and cold. Watch her, she commanded. Every step she takes, every word she speaks, every breath she draws, bring it to me. Nothing is too small to notice. Her eyes glimmered with deadly light. And find the human. Bring him to me, alive or dead, it does not matter, for he will not see the end of this. The servants bowed low, fear in their eyes, and scattered to obey. The mother stood in silence, her hands trembling with barely contained fury, but beneath her rage was something else, something colder, a fear she would never admit, for she had seen the fire in her daughter's eyes, and it unsettled her. It was the fire of defiance, the fire of a heart that would not break, and for the first time, the mother wondered if her power alone would be enough to crush it. The daughter did not know of her mother's orders, but she felt the weight of eyes upon her wherever she walked. She saw the servants lingering too long. She heard the footsteps that echoed just behind her. Paranoia grew inside her, mixing with fear, but so did resolve. If her mother meant to destroy her, then she would need to be stronger than she had ever been. And she would need him, the human who had given her this spark of life. That night, beneath the light of the twin moons, she slipped into the gardens once more. The glowing flowers swayed in the night air, their petals shimmering with alien light. She lifted her face to the stars, her voice soft but strong. Come back to me, she whispered. Before it is too late, far away in the shadows. The human looked up at the same moons, the same stars, and though distance and danger lay between them, he whispered the same words. I am coming. The city around the estate glowed with alien light, towers rising like spears into the dark sky. Ships drifted above like silent birds, their engines humming softly. And among the crowd of merchants, travelers, and servants, a single figure moved with purpose. He wore a cloak of rough fabric hiding his face, hiding the truth of what he was. But beneath that cloak burned the strength of a soldier, a man who had crossed stars and survived wars. The human had returned, each step carried him closer to danger. Yet closer to the woman he loved, he had heard the whispers. The rumors that spread even through the lower districts, whispers of an aristocrat's daughter who had changed, who glowed with a strange secret. And though no one dared to say the words aloud, he knew the truth. It was her. It had to be her. He kept his head low but his eyes sharp. Alien guards moved in patrols, their weapons gleaming, their faces unreadable. Servants hurried through the streets with supplies for the noble estates, their voices hushed. The city seemed calm, but beneath the surface he could feel the tension, like a storm waiting to break. And at the heart of it stood the woman he had risked everything for. Back in the estate, the daughter sat by the window of her chamber, her hand pressed against the cold glass, her other hand resting gently on her stomach. She felt trapped, like a bird inside a golden cage, watched at every moment by eyes she could not see. Her mother had grown distant since their confrontation, speaking little, showing less, but the daughter could feel the weight of her plans building in the silence. The walls of the estate seemed to lean closer each day, whispering threats she could not escape. Yet on this night her heart beat faster. A strange pull rose within her, as though the stars themselves whispered to her. She closed her eyes, breathing deep, and for a moment, she felt him, the human, the one who had given her strength, the one who had given her hope. He was near, she knew it. Even if reason told her it was impossible, the human moved closer, slipping past the patrols with practiced skill. He had fought in wars where silence meant survival, and now he used every lesson through hidden paths, through servant tunnels carved into the edges of the estate. He advanced, his heart pounded with every step, not from fear but from urgency. He had to reach her, before her mother's shadow closed around her completely. At the edge of the gardens he paused, hidden in the shadows of glowing alien trees. The estate loomed before him, vast and cold, but he did not falter. He remembered her laughter, her eyes, the way she had whispered to him that she loved him even when the stars themselves forbade it. And now he remembered her vow, the promise she had made to protect their child. He would stand with her. He would not let her fight alone inside the estate. The daughter walked the gardens as she often did, the night air wrapped around her, the glowing flowers swaying softly. She whispered to the child as she walked, her voice tender. "You will know him one day," she said. "You will know his strength, his kindness, and you will know that he came for us." Her words were carried by the night air, and though she did not know it, he was there, listening. His chest tightened. His hands shook as he stepped closer from the shadows. For a moment, fear held him still, fear of being seen, fear of being caught, fear of the storm that would follow. But love pushed him forward. Stronger than any fear, the daughter turned. Sensing movement, her breath caught, her heart stopped for a moment. And then she saw him, the human, cloaked in shadow, his eyes shining with the fire she had missed for so long. Her lips trembled, her voice breaking. "You came," she whispered. He pulled back his hood, his face revealed, lined with hardship, scarred by battle but softened by love. "I told you I would," he said, his voice low but steady. "I will always come back to you." Tears filled her eyes as she ran to him, her arms wrapping around him. For a moment the world disappeared. The estate, the court, the threats all gone. There was only them, and the spark of life between them. But the moment did not last. From the shadows of the estate, eyes watched, servants loyal to the mother, hidden guards who had followed her orders. They saw the human, they saw the embrace, and they slipped away silently to deliver the news. The mother would know, and she would not forgive. The storm was closer now, and its first strike was about to fall. The human pulled back slightly, his hands holding hers, his eyes fierce. "We do not have long," he said. "They are already watching, already hunting." But his gaze softened as he looked at her, then at her stomach. "Whatever comes, we will face it together." The daughter nodded, her tears falling but her spirit strong. "Yes," she whispered, "together."